Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Charlotte Chilcott at Aardvark, McLeod, and I'm going to chat to you this afternoon about Alphonse in the Seychelles and what a wonderful destination it is, whether you're going there to fish, purely going to go to fish, or whether you would like to go and do it with your family or a partner who may not be as keen on fishing as you are. The best time of year to go, really, from a fishing point of view, falls between, really, I think, October through to the end of May. Obviously, you can go in earlier to fish from August through to September, but you're quite dependent on the wind. So ideally, if the monsoon winds have changed, traditionally that used to happen in November, but nowadays, who knows? But it does mean that the winds are at their lowest, and it's obviously better for you for fishing and for crossing over from Alphonse Island itself to St Francois Atoll. Later on in the year, if you go between May through to the end of September, it's the monsoon winds have changed, they're at their strongest, it's at its driest, but it is a little bit more difficult from a fishing point of view. Now, I've been absolutely lucky enough to go to Alphonse for a few times, quite a while. I think this November will be my 20th trip. And I was asked the other day, why? Why do I keep going back to somewhere? I've always been an avid explorer and traveler. I've always liked going to new places and exploring new things. So what draws me back to one little atoll in the Indian Ocean? And it's just really that the fishery is phenomenal. I've seen it change a lot over the years. I've seen quite a lot change on the island itself. It is very different property to as it was when I first saw it all those years ago. It's not that it is really quite special. The fishery does see a lot of pressure, sees a lot of rods throughout the season. Does that make a difference? I don't think it does. I really don't. It's always remained very good. It is a phenomenal bone fishery. And I think that that's what everybody should remember when they go, that it is one of the best places in the world, if not the best place in the world to go saltwater flats fishing for bone fish. Now, obviously, the joy about Alphonse is that there's plenty of other species to target, as with all of the Indian Ocean atolls. You have GTs who are obviously always on everyone's top of everybody's list of species to target. Triggerfish, who are something that I could very happily spend all week getting hugely frustrated about. And you have milkfish, a huge amount of reef species, bluefin trevally. I do think if they grew to the same size as GTs, we'd probably all be in a bit of trouble because they fight very, very hard and they're great fun. There's milkfish. One thing you won't find on Alphonse are bumpies. You'll find them on the other atolls in the Indian Ocean, but I haven't ever seen any that far north. And what I think makes Alphonse incredibly special from a fishing point of view is that there is something for everybody. So it doesn't matter if you are, really young, really fit, and you can go out on the right tides and fish along the reef edges. If you are more comfortable just wading on hard sand flats, there's great turtle grass, finger flats. You can fish from the skiff. All the skiffs have leaning bars, which I find really helpful. And it just means that there is something for everyone. It doesn't matter what your physical capability is. It doesn't matter how good you are as a fisherman. You will be able to put yourself in a place to catch fish and to really enjoy it. And that's the whole point of any fishing trip, is to go out every morning, I think, without a shopping list and just go and see what the day brings you. Permit are obviously there in their numbers, but they're tricky. I mean, they are what they are. And I have been taught many a lesson with my permit, so one day I'll get it right, I hope. So that's the when and the why would you go. How do you get there? It's pretty straightforward from Europe, quite straightforward, although very long flights from the States. And most of the airlines will route through the either Doha on Qatar and British Airways, with Emirates through Dubai. Turkish Airlines have very good schedules through Istanbul. So you do have quite a lot of choice. And if you are in Kenya or Tanzania, even in South Africa, on safari or wanting to add on some extra time, that's easy as well. The flights come in quite regularly, so it's very easy to add that on. But do remember when you're booking your flights that you really ought to allow an extra day. So come in a day early, spend the night on Mahe. You're going to be fishing hard for your week. So I think that the best thing that you can do is enjoy it, get a good night's sleep, get yourself ready, because days are long. You're up at 6 for breakfast, or rather you're having breakfast about 6. And the boat from Alphonse leaves for St Francois at 7. So you're out there all day, you're fishing all day, you'll stop for lunch and head on back, aiming to be back on Alphonse about 5 or 5:30. So it's not a completely relaxed fishing trip. So if you come in a day early, you also avoid the risk of your luggage not making it to Alphonse with you, because it's got a second flight coming in after you. And it means that you're not likely to run as much of a risk of missing your scheduled flight leaving on Saturday morning. There are obviously other flights during the week to Alphonse. It does depend on what space is available, because those flights are operating to the other atolls. So, if there's a full group of fishermen and any non-fishers or staff who have to move around, you may not be able to make it. So just please bear that in mind and make the allowance. And the other question which I'm asked quite often, and I have just been asked, is about tides. How important are tides? And the answer is they are, but they're equally not. There isn't any such thing really as a bad tide on any of the Seychelles atolls. Tide differences are big, or they can be big, but you fish it differently. So my favorite tide is a spring to a neap, or a neap to a spring. So you get a bit of the best of both worlds. You're fishing a big hard push during your spring periods, and you have more water on the flats during your neaps. Now, it allows you with the poling, you can get around, you can obviously move around the flats, which are a little bit too deep for you to wade on a neap, but it does give you the opportunity to experience St Francois on both tidal variations and to get the best out of it. So please don't be put off by anybody saying, oh, it's a terrible tide, or you must only go fish this or fish that. Honestly, you will catch fish. It just depends on how you fish it. And that's when you need to listen to your guides. They're a brilliant guide team. They do change every season. I found it really exciting for me personally this year was that the guides who came in at the beginning of this current season were just very innovative. They were great. We had fun with the batfish. A little blue fly, dry fly fishing for batfish was interesting, and that's the whole point. Is there are a lot of species out there, so don't get focused. Go catch whatever sort of swims in front of you. Kit-wise, it's brilliant because although you're restricted to a 15-kilo weight limit, you don't have to pack for every single eventuality that you can think of. Alphonse has a fabulous tackle shop. It's got everything there that you could ever need. So if you have nothing, or you don't want to take your kit, or you're only going for a few days, don't worry about it. Just let us know. We'll organize the kit for you. We only need to know whether you're left or right hand so that we can have that set up properly before you arrive. And it does mean that if you want to borrow stuff, they have an excellent kit. It's Thomas & Thomas rods and Shelton reels, and they have great lines and just about everything you could want to have. From early December this year, Alphonse will be all inclusive. So If you're going there as a fisherman, it doesn't make a huge amount of difference to you, apart from potentially your bar bill, which you won't have. But if you're going as a leisure guest or you're going with your family, it's brilliant because it means that so much more is already covered and you don't have to think about it. You can just go off, enjoy and relax on what is a really quite special little island. It's got various options for you in terms of where you stay. The iconic A-frames, I get into trouble for calling them that, but the beach bungalows are really comfortable. They're all single occupancy as standard. So again, for some people, you really don't want to be thinking about, do I have to pay a single supplement because I'm traveling by myself? The answer is no, you don't. They have the beach villas, which are rather larger, and they have their own pools, which is really quite nice. And if you're a group of friends traveling or a family who are traveling, then there are the 4-bedroom beach villas, which again are completely self-contained. They have a central pool, which is lovely, and there's plenty of options. So you can combine them with one other type or 2 or 3 different types if you're a large group. But the nice thing is that you have choice, and for me, I'm a single angler. My friends are all rubbish, none of them fish. So I do have to think about that when I travel for myself. But in this case, it's really not an issue at all. Fishing works on a shared boat basis as standard. So there's 2 anglers in a boat with 1 guide. If you wanted to have a single boat to yourself, of course, that's not a problem. You just need to check to make sure that they will have availability. Because sometimes, depending on what's happening elsewhere in the islands, guides move around and the guide team may not be quite as strong in terms of numbers as it would normally be. But just ask. They are nothing short of accommodating. Will always do everything that they can to make sure that everything works and as you want it to, and that whatever you need to accommodate in terms of your fishing preferences, you can do so. I think what has been amazing for me watching Alphonse sort of change over the years is that it's been so nice seeing such a strong conservation ethic come into play and be maintained and carry on with a huge emphasis on managing that fishery really, really well and protecting it. Without fishermen, it would be very difficult for them to do that. But it is all the hard work pays off. It's why people go back year on year. It's why the fish stocks remain so good, and why the fishing is, yes, it can be really challenging, and some weeks are harder than others. But hey, that's fishing. I think you'll find that pretty much everywhere you go. But what has been amazing to see are things like the solar array. It's massive. And you think about the logistics of getting all of that to this tiny little speck of an island. It's really quite extraordinary, but that now powers, I think it's about 80% of Alphonse's requirements. They have the garden, which produces an extraordinary tonnage of food every month for not just Alphonse, but it goes off to the other atolls. And if you think about how much they've actually got to work with soil-wise, it's a diddy amount. It's amazing. So it's not just about going there to fish. Take the time to chat to the guys about the island, how they live there, what it's like, what they're doing. Do go to the conservation chats that they have in the evening with the ICS and also with the Blue Safari team who are on site, because they're amazing. It's not just about what we're doing and what we're seeing. I mean, the manta program and the shark programs are really interesting to find out more about. And obviously the GT tagging program, which they had some years ago, was fascinating to learn more about. So, do take the time and enjoy. It's a very special little place. And I think that it's one of my favorite places in the world. I'm very partial to Tanzania as well. as you probably know, but I think that Alphonse is one of those fab little places that you want to keep going back to. There's always something new to discover. People there are wonderful. So if you haven't been, please put it on your bucket list, because it really does deserve to be there. And if you have any time and you fancy sneaking off in November, I do have a rod which is still available in my hosted week. So it's a fun week. We have a lot of fun. We fish hard, but we don't take ourselves overly seriously, which I always think is a bonus. And if if we can help with anything at all, please do let us know. Now, I have got a couple of questions sitting there, and really one of them was, in terms of kit, do I have a preference? I probably should buy some new stuff, because my hardies are all rather elderly, but they are brilliant and I love them very much. Thomas & Thomas have fabulous rods, so do Guideline. And plenty more out there, Sage and Loomis. So, please, if I haven't mentioned them, don't think that they aren't great, because they are. Reel-wise, I've got equally ancient Hardy's reels. Mine are the original Fortunas, so you'll know how well they've been looked after. They are fabulous. But if I was going to replace them, there's a lot out there. Again, Shiltons have fab stuff, and there's a lot of choice. So do ask. And I think the most important thing is, when you go, if you're buying new lines that you've not used before, try them before you go, because it makes a huge amount of difference. You really don't want to be struggling with your 12 weight when that fish of a lifetime comes past, and you're just not enjoying fishing with that particular line. There's plenty of choice out there. Try. There's always people who are willing to let you borrow kit, and great tackle shops who are happy to do exactly the same thing. And flies, don't worry, tie your own, buy some before you go, but there's, again, very good supplies on the island. And they're quite often, they'll be what the guides are tying, so they do change. They're all tied on very good hooks. And you don't have to pack absolutely everything for every eventuality, as you may do in other parts of the world. You will get away with traveling with the bare minimum and still being able to, to deal with any catastrophes that may or may not happen. Anyway, I hope that I haven't talked too fast, and that's been helpful. If we can help with anything at all, please do get in touch. And if you are interested in joining me, then please drop me an email on charlotte@aardvarkmcleod.com. But other than that, I have to fulfill my instructions, and so please do like the videos, and please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, and please keep in touch. Thank you very much for popping in, and keep well.